UFC 140, live from the Air Canada Centre in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. What is up, guys? This is Chase Oliver, 68 here, bringing you my MMA recap for UFC 140. UFC 140 took place tonight, and we opened up the card with Mark Hominick versus Chan Sung Jung. Backstory on Chan Sung Jung. Chan Sung Jung, fighter from Korea, K1 champion, everyone loves a Korean zombie. Many well known by most casuals and maybe some hardcore from his epic fight he had with Leonard Garcia at the WEC pre-show before Aldo versus Faber. Chan Sung Jung on a win streak, and he's facing Mark Hominick, and Canada loves Mark Hominick. Mark Hominick is a fellow Canadian. Mark Hominick, if you guys do not know why Canada loves him, at UFC 129, valiant effort for the UFC featherweight title. He fought Jose Aldo. He was taking on Jose Aldo. He had a giant hematoma taking on Jose Aldo. He came up short. He almost TKO'd Jose Aldo. Mark Hominick is a guy that everyone loves, and Mark Hominick is a fighter that I do truly respect. I think Mark Hominick's a great fighter, great guy. Boy, Chan Sung Jung just knocked the living shit out of this kid. Mark Hominick really comes in, 7 seconds of fight. Boom, Chan Sung Jung knocks the living shit out of Mark Hominick, goes all over him, bam, bam, bam. Winner, Chan Sung Jung. Sorry, Mark. I guess you weren't impressive at this showing. Kind of disappointing for Mark Hominick if you think about it. I mean, you just had this epic 5-round war with this guy like Jose Aldo, and then you go up against a Korean zombie and you get knocked out like that. Ooh. In 7 seconds, nonetheless. Chan Sung Jung looked great. Nothing more great things to say about Chan Sung Jung. I thought he looked really good tonight. Chan Sung Jung, though, is he ready for that UFC title shot? Who knows? Many are saying yes, many are saying no, he still has to fight someone else, but that featherweight division is so slim. I think Chan Sung Jung fighting Kenny Florian, who always wants his belt or some shit like that, should fight, and the winner can be number one contender. Whoopee! Next up, we got Claude Patrick versus Brian Eversol. Brian Eversol, if you guys do not remember, in one of my earlier UFC reviews, I talked about a dude with an arrow on his chest fighting a dude with wrestling trunks. Well, that was Brian Eversol, the dude with the arrow on his chest. So you guys should be familiar with that name. Versus Claude Patrick in a welterweight battle. Originally, Rory McDonald, one of the guys I do like. If you guys watch my previous UFC recaps and there's a fight with Rory McDonald, I always talk about how I love this kid and how he fights. Sadly, Rory had to get hurt. Damn it. But Claude Patrick showed that he deserved the replacement. Claude Patrick really stylistically gave Brian Eversol some troubles. In the first round, I had to give that to Brian Eversol. In the second round, Claude Patrick destroyed, in my opinion, Brian Eversol. Brian Eversol looked bad. Not a 10-8 round nonetheless, but a 10-9 destruction by Claude Patrick. And then afterwards, Brian Eversol came back, and to me, he looked strong enough to win the third round. That's just my opinion. Everyone has their own opinion. Canada wasn't happy about it. Claude Patrick, another fellow Canadian fighting on this card. But, hey, sucks for Claude Patrick. Brian Eversol keeps on making his way up. And there was a sixth spot where Claude Patrick had him in a guillotine choke, Brian Eversol. And Brian Eversol was not going down with that fool. Man, what a pretty decent, entertaining fight. Tito Ortiz versus Antonio Rogero Nogueira. Oh boy. Tito Ortiz is now calling himself the People's Champion. Tito, you might want to call the Great One The Rock and ask him if it's okay for you to use that name, okay? Okay. But Tito Ortiz is a new man now. He's facing Antonio Rogero Nogueira. There's another Nogueira on this card. He's facing Frank Mir, and I can't wait to talk about that shit. But anyways, Tito Ortiz versus Antonio Rogero Nogueira. Tito Ortiz, people are wondering, okay, if Tito wins, what's next for him? Does he go on to fight other guys, or does he go into, the title scene? What's up with Tito if he wins? Or maybe people are wondering, what if Tito loses? Is he retiring? Well, we'll find out when I talk about it. Tito Ortiz came out looking strong. He was coming out, really loose, throwing those hands out there. But Nogueira, once he got him in that clinch, spelled trouble. Tito's body has always been a weak point in his career, and Tito got hit in the body hard. Tito basically survived. He did his best defending himself. He did not look hurt. When he got to the ground, he was defending himself. And then Nogueira, though, found out his weakness in the body, hit some huge body shots on Tito, and Tito had to basically tap out to strikes. He was done with strikes. The strikes were gained to him, and Nogueira wins this fight. Nogueira's moving his way up to the light heavyweight division, and many were looking at Antonio Rohiro Nogueira, and they were saying, Antonio Rohiro Nogueira needs to move up to this level of fighting decent talent, because we've seen him fight before, and he looks like shit every time we see him fight. People have been saying that. I've been saying that. I've been saying Antonio Rohiro Nogueira is a disappointment because he hasn't been impressing me at all. He needed this type of win, and I'm glad he got it. But after all, to Tito Ortiz. Now, many Tito Ortiz fans, they want to see him fight again. They want to see the people's champ fight again. Me, personally, I don't want Tito Ortiz to fight again. I think he's done enough. He's done enough in the sport to show that he's ready for retirement. I mean, yeah, sure, he had one win over Ryan Bader, and he was on a 5-year losing streak, but, Tito Ortiz is known as one of the longest reigning light heavyweight champions in the sport. He's known as one of the greatest fighters in the sport. It's time for him to retire, and he cannot keep on continuing trying to fight guys and hoping that, if I win, I'll retire. When you win or lose, you retire, and it depends on the situation. And at this situation, I think Tito Ortiz should have retired and joined BJ Penn on the golf course somewhere, bullshitting about the good old days in the UFC. Nonetheless, Tito Ortiz might continue, and this is coming from a Tito Ortiz fan. I love Tito Ortiz, but I think it's time for him to, finally step down. He's done. I feel he has done it all. Like Mirko Cro Cop. I talked about this with Mirko Cro Cop in a couple of videos back. You've done it already. We know you are a great, great fighter. You have my utmost respect. But your time in this industry is done. You're not evolving with the sport. You're staying at the same stagnant level. You're not evolving to these younger guys, and you're not ready to fight these top tier guys like a John Jones, Anderson Silva. The list can go on and on. GSP. Time for you to take a break. Be a spokesperson for the UFC. Be a guy to promote the company. Be a character for it. Whatever. I think it's Tito Ortiz's time, but Tito Ortiz does not think so. And next up, Frank Mir. And if you guys do not know, I'm a huge fucking Frank Mir fan. I always loved Frank Mir ever since he broke Tim Sylvia's fucking hand. Fuck you, Tim Sylvia. But besides that, he fought Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira, and this is actually a rematch. Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. This is Antonio Rogerio Nogueira, the guy who just fought before us. Twin brother. He's the older one. These two fought at UFC 92 Ultimate 2009. I want to say it was 2009 or 2008. One of those years. I just know that Boris Griffin and Rashad Evans and Wanderlei Silva and Rampage 3 was on that card as well. But this was a fight in UFC 92 that happened, and Frank Mir upset the world. No one thought Frank Mir was going to win this fight. He defeated Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. Then later on, Nogueira fought Randy Couture not too long ago. I believe it was at UFC 102. And Nogueira let out the fact that he had staph infection, and that, that's why he wasn't as good looking as he was when he fought Frank Mir, when he fought Randy Couture. Frank Mir took this to a personal level, and he was saying, that's just an insult to me. I thought I was the better fighter that night, but obviously he doesn't think so. Time for me to prove it wrong. And Frank Mir, for all those people that said Frank Mir can't beat Nogueira at 100%, for all those people that said Frank Mir fucking sucks, I'll admit, I've said Frank Mir has not looked impressive in the last couple of fights. I thought Frank Mir has looked like utter shit against Roy Nelson and Cro Cop. I'll admit that. Frank Mir is a cocky asshole. Who cares? Everyone in any sport is a cocky asshole. You're a contradiction if you say, I don't like this fighter because he's a cocky asshole. I don't like this sports player because he's a cocky asshole. Every sports player, no matter what, are cocky assholes. I'll fight to that to the day I die. But besides that, Frank Mir came out. Him and Nogueira had a good exchange. Nogueira looked like he hurt Frank Mir. Nogueira was looking for a finish, but Frank Mir used his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, locked in a Kimura so deep. And Nogueira, he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He tried to escape it, couldn't. Frank Mir had a perfect position. Nogueira flips over, boom, breaks his motherfucking arm. Frank Mir broke freaking Antonio Nogueira's motherfucking arm, and Frank Mir defeats Nogueira by via submission, Kimura, in the first round. Wow. Frank Mir, whoever you fight next, I don't care, because you will put on a good show. I always love you. Great win. And for all those haters that said He didn't beat Nog the first time. Well, he may not. He broke Nog's fucking arm, man. Nog's like this in the hospital right now, trying to speak his English. Next up is the light heavyweight bout between Jon Jones and Lyoto Machida. The fight that probably people only ordered a show for. Now, Jon Jones in the MMA community has been getting haters / followers / whatever. You know, Jon Jones is what we like to call, I guess in the world of sports, a New York Yankee type icon, a Pittsburgh Steelers / New England Patriots type icon. A guy that you either love him or you hate him for some reason. And I'm actually going to be doing a separate video for my thoughts on Jon Jones, so I won't go on forever with this. But just know that he's kind of a controversial guy, and he's facing in his 4th fight of this year. Most UFC fighters don't even fight 4 times a year, against a guy like Lyoto Machida. And Machida came off a impressive crane kick to the dome on Randy Couture. The fight goes down where, you know, these two guys, if you know MMA at all, if you just sit down and know MMA at all, you would know this fight's not going to be, we're going to whale our fist at each other. No, this fight is going to be, let's read each other's thoughts. What are we going to do? And that's what Machida was doing. He was waiting for the time. He was doing his weird karate stance that he normally does. Jon Jones doing his lurking predator stance, as I like to call it. Lyoto Machida catches Jon Jones very, very hard. In the first round, Jon Jones is hurt. You know, he is trying to move away. And this shows like, man, Jon Jones has never been in this kind of trouble before. In the first round, Jon Jones is in trouble. Holy shit, Machida is going to destroy. But that all changes from there on. In the second round, Jon Jones comes out. He doesn't look as stiff as he did the first round. He looks more loose, throwing more kicks. Machida doing the same thing. Machida throwing counters, Jon Jones throwing rights, and then Jon Jones gets a takedown. Bam! Massive elbow to the face. Lyoto Machida is busted at this point. He has had a huge gash right here, just bleeding like no tomorrow. Jon Jones takes advantage. Machida really can't see that much. Jon Jones gets his guillotine choke, pushes the hand upwards, and then the referee stops it. Lyoto's like, down. Jon Jones retains the UFC light heavyweight champion, and wow. Is this kid impressive or what? All his fights as champion in the UFC have not gone the distance. He's been finishing guys. He's been entertaining doing it. And this is why I enjoy watching Jon Jones fight. Not saying I don't enjoy Lyoto Machida, but this is why Jon Jones is one of my favorite fighters and currently a top guy in the sport. Now, like I said, I'll be doing a separate video on Jon Jones, so if you guys really want to check that out, subscribe to my channel. But overall, what are my thoughts on UFC 135? You know, this card was decent at best, you know. The last 2 fights to me really brought me up. The first fight was like, what the fuck? The 7-second knockout. The second fight was like, okay, decent MMA battle. And then the third fight, the finish wasn't as exciting. And when you think, oh, someone's getting struck in the bodies, that sounds exciting. It wasn't. It was just Tito wailing there like, and then Nog just punching his stomach. My MVP of the night. Jon Jones, you look good tonight. But my MVP goes to Frank motherfucking Mir. He broke the dude's arm. How the fuck is he not the MVP? And my loser of the night, sorry Mark Hominick, I have to give it to you, man. You did not look as impressive as I thought. My fight of the night, Jon Jones versus Lyoto Machida. I actually did enjoy that fight for what it was. Frank Mir and Nogueira was nice, but it was a little bit too short for me, and I didn't get a full grasp of it. So yeah, those are my awards for tonight. If you guys like this video, subscribe up above, and remember to check out that Jon Jones video when I post it. Comment down below your thoughts on UFC 140. Holy shit, we're at UFC 140 already. God damn, I'm lost right now. But yeah, see you guys next time for a UFC video. Oh, actually, Strikeforce. Gilbert Melendez will be fighting for a title. So I'll be doing a video on the Strikeforce event. So if you guys like my MMA content, wait till next Saturday. Alright, peace y'all.